Let's move now to the interactive discussion. And the aim of that session is to exchange best practice also with those who are hearing us and interacting with us online, to exchange best practice thoughts and creative ideas that can be achieved through collaboration, and in particular to focus on ideas that can enhance the engagement of citizens and can help scale and speed up the food system transformation. For this part, we will be using Slido, and I hope that you are all familiar with the tool. I'm hoping that Carlos will put on the slides voila, it is there, the QR codes of Slido. So take out your mobile phones, scan the QR, and Slido will appear, or if you prefer, put it on your browser, slido.com, and then use the hashtag citizens for food systems, FS change, sorry, that you have also on the screen. And when you do so, you should be seeing the statements that we will be discussing with the panelists, but you are also encouraged through Slido to submit your contributions to those questions. First, I will take the questions from the panelists, and one by one, and when the panelists have finished reacting to the question, then we will see what those that are looking online or seeing us and following the discussion online have contributed to that discussion. Okay, so the first question is, what are the existing gaps and challenges that need to be addressed to increase citizens' engagement in the food system transformation? We have heard a lot throughout the presentations, but what are the gaps and challenges that you all see as main ones? Who wants to go first? Otherwise, we can take or contribute in the order of the presentations, like that is easier. So Anja, you will go first.
Yeah, from our side, indeed, I mentioned one of the biggest gaps is to include beyond the hummus and kale eaters. So it does require a lot of effort in terms of engagement, and indeed very different approach, because it's very much different if you want to engage children, if you want to engage in maybe people with disability, which is something I must admit I haven't seen very much. So it would be lovely to have living labs addressing also those kind of those citizens. Or if you want to include the elderly, of course, and every time you're going to need to think of different approaches. If you want to include people that comes from that are third country national, again, you might have some language barriers you will need to address. So it is challenging, it is time consuming. It is a lot of effort, but we do think when it comes to cities, especially cities that do have a food policy, or they have a long-standing tradition to include citizens in policy making, regardless if it is food, if it is climate action, if it is health policy. We do see indeed the added value that it can bring. And especially when it comes to protein transition, which was also mentioned in the question, and the reduction of food waste, for which citizens' involvement is fundamental.
Thanks a lot, Anja. Dolinda.
Yes, I think I also mentioned before in my presentation that not involving citizens might lead to, in some way, lack of impact and success, lack of transparency, or lack of not understanding really the need of the citizens, then can lead to frustration. So involving citizens it's actually the key way to have a greater chance to successful transformation, and so to actually have a product or strategy that actually works. So for me, the recommendation is actually to apply the living lab methodology by involving the different stakeholders, from the whole quadruple helix, so that all the perspectives are listened and can be understood and adapted to the needs.
Thanks, Dolinda. Camila.
Well, I would say based on the previous projects I have worked on and like everything that I am aware about, it's the lack of public awareness and education regarding on what's the need of the transformation and what's actually the role of citizens on addressing this. Then the information access to credible and understandable information and sources, because this makes to make decisions very difficult. You don't know who to believe in, or yeah, it's very difficult nowadays. And then yeah, the cultural and different the regional differences, because it's yeah, we all the different I mean, all the strategies should be tailored to the specific location. So we have different habits, traditions, cultural differences in general. So we really have to be more conscious that not everything works for everyone. So yeah, I think that's the main gaps.
Thank you, Hugo.
Or maybe Anna, do you like to give an answer?
Sure. So one thing that we see in some of the projects that we're in and that we also talk about in FOODPathS is the balance of power and who has what ability to make what decision. And so that's a gap and a challenge. And also really connecting the process or the engagement process and the desired outcomes to something personal or in the priorities of the different stakeholders who are there, right? So this collaborative space that is that can build trust, that can also be very much connected to each individual stakeholders or group of stakeholders' individual priorities, and then also addresses the power dynamics of the group.
Thank you, Anna. And maybe now we can go and look at what the people who are watching have contributed, and you have been really great, not only at contributing but also at voting. So that makes us our lives easier. So there we have acknowledged the fact that a large group of citizens, those from lower socioeconomic groups, does not have the time or financial space to participate. So this needs to be addressed. If you want to, if you want to comment on these statements, please feel free, but I think it has been already mentioned. Another suggestion is to understand concretely what works to get people engaged. The examples given are often vague and theory-driven rather than anchored in practice. Very important, obviously, to go to the real life and to the concrete examples. Too many projects, sorry. It has, okay, too many projects, sorry, it's moving. Too many projects, initiatives, organizations working in parallel. That is confusing, and they are competing for people to be involved. And that is maybe also a big thing. I mean, we see it already in terms of, for example, civil society organization and the fact that they don't have, endless resources. And if we want them engaged in different processes, there is a limit to what they can engage with. And probably that is the same in the people that we want to involve for different initiatives. Address the industry power and generally the power imbalance in the food systems. That has been also touched upon, but okay. Sorry, I don't see the one underneath on the screen. Thanks, Carlos. Overcoming myths, dissemination of correct information to consumers and citizens. Again, it's true that we are all out there consulting many sources of information, and there is certainly a big impact that information can have on people's perceptions and ideas. So very important. Okay. Changing cultural eating habits is critical and very hard, as it's a private matter. Promoting eating habits that existed before the largely high processed foods would be a solution. addressing nutrient power, we have it. Sorry, paternalistic approaches. So not to forget that we shouldn't fall into those type of approaches. Perception that citizens' needs are not fully implemented in practice. Sort of a question, how much more challenging will it be to address these existing gaps if we don't see an EU sustainable food systems law? As this is a question, any of the panelists would like to react to that? Hugo?
Yeah, well, I think as an answer to this question, it is seen that there is a legislation needed. And there was first an idea it should be developed in the same way as EFSA was developed and for food safety. But the different angles are so different that the Commission, and that is the point, of course, of lawyers, how are the insight in the complexity of food systems that allows to keep strict legislation and follow strict measures, as one of the first questions that was asked. And they see that still as a major concern. But I think that there is really a consensus that there needs to be a legislation and that there needs to be a real change of way of working, etc. I think that the threat that there is now also in Europe, that there is maybe not sufficient food. There are some people that are talking that there is 60% insufficient renewable resources in 2050. If that is really true, then we have a very serious problem also in Europe that already many people face around the world. So it's I think there is a consensus that there needs to be something, only it takes more time and it's more complex also from a legal perspective to very fast develop it. That is what I got as an impression, but I hope also as fast as possible and as fair and just as possible as well.
Thank you, Hugo. Anja?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that indeed it was really sad to see the halting of work in relation to the Sustainable Food System Framework Law. However, the way it had evolved because of this rising issues in relation to food insecurity, to the role of farmers, the proposal had become very superficial, if I may. It had been focusing very much only around the role for labeling, some mention of the role of food environment. It was going to end up proposing national food environment approaches, but not putting anything as mandatory. So I honestly do not know if it's better to wait and have something that indeed can become much more concrete, much more ambitious, or having something published right now that would maybe end up being an empty shell, or mainly based on voluntary approach of member state, where we have member states that are creating really innovative solutions, like we know Denmark, and other member states that will lag completely behind. So it's just because I've been seeing the evolution of this legislation from the very initial proposal of stakeholders and what it had become towards the end. And I want to hope that it's better this way. Maybe we can wait a few more months and hopefully have something that is a bit more ambitious than what was in the papers for the moment.
Thanks, Anja. And I suggest that with this, we pass on the next question, but all the answers that people have given will be captured and we will take that in the summary of this session that will be shared with all of you afterwards. So the second question, so back to your Slido, how can we achieve how can we actively involve and inspire young generations, and what strategies have proven successful in doing so? So same order of presentation. Anja, you go first.
Yeah, so this is I think cities feel this is probably young generation and children are the easiest one to engage, because cities work mainly in schools. There is such a variety already of food educational tools that have been developed. I think what is interesting, and was mentioned by Anna, is how procurement, which is something very lawyer technical, instead can have a strong impact on also the educational program that can be developed in schools and in the food variety that the children will see on their plate.
Thank you. Dolinda.
Yes, so I actually believe that, I mean, I agree with Anja. I also believe that young generation has also been, has demonstrated to be actually aware as well. And so I believe that they could, in some cases, they could be also the ones inspiring us. And to do that, I think it is important to to establish trust and to make sure that younger generation have, you know, a seat on the table in the decision-making process. They are actively involved and heard. Then let's say even younger generation, I agree that education and, you know, working with school, it is actually, I totally agree, it is something that it's important to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Dolinda. And I'm looking at the same time. I mean, you don't, but to the Slido, and for example, it is suggested to use social media and gamification. So maybe that can be put for thought for the following speakers. Camila.
Yeah, indeed. That's something I wanted to say. As Anja and Dolinda said, young generations through initiatives in schools is something that have proven to be really effective. At the end, the children are the ones that are educating their parents home, so they bring the message home. Then the role models and influencers. So, well, in CLEVERFOOD, we're working a lot with influencers and that could advocate for the food system transformation and provide information that that target group needs. Digital platforms like social media, the different Instagram, TikTok, and all these platforms are used by younger generations. So, and then gamification is also something that has been very successful in a lot of initiatives. So this, together with interactive content and to really target your campaigns to these specific groups.
Thanks, Camila. Hugo and Anna.
Yeah, Anna, you first or me?
Oh, you first. You first,
yeah,
Hugo.
Do first, then you second. Yeah, but I agree. Young already at an early stage. I see that there are differences now at schools, but still, it is food as a topic is not seen as one of the first priorities, and still it's one of our first priorities to survive. So I think there could be done more. There are also sometimes quite strange measures taken at school. So it was not allowed anymore, I understood, to visit farms because it was too dangerous. Now, I think that there are much more dangerous excursions than go to a farm. But so there are sometimes strange measures taken, and that should be all aligned, that the children are confronted with food, that they explain it in their. Matteo, who is here, the apple on the bottom side of my screen, always tells me, Hugo, we need to speak differently. And that is true. I think also we need to speak another language in trying to motivate the children. But I see at all ages for young generations, for example, there is the Young Ambassadors platform now of the FAO, where they speak up. It is not others who tell them what to do or what the topics are. They define the agenda, they say what they think, etc. I think those initiatives are highly valuable and to be followed by others. Then is the question, what is young? I'm many years young. Does that also count or not? I think we all have a responsibility because Brundtland already said we should not compromise generations, which is multiple generations. So I hope and I think that we all should be involved in it, but speaking a language that is clear and giving examples all ourselves that are also motivating and inspiring. But Anna, maybe you like to look to it from another angle?
Maybe just very briefly, I think also finding those opportunities for youth or young people or people of any age to make a decision and do something, right, and really contribute. As you're saying, there are youth councils that are setting agendas or priorities, or there are ways to, more than in a tokenistic way, but elevate the artwork of youth or elevate their favorite meals, so some of these meaningful ways for engagement too, rather than only influencing or only educating, but this exchange and empowering, creating empowering spaces for youth of any age.
Thanks a lot, Anna. And if we look now at the Slido contributions, we see, and I will take only the most voted so that we can move quickly through the next two questions. It's food growing, cooking, and food production experiences which take young people into the natural environment, so forests, fields, farms, lakes, etc., and connecting this directly to their food choices, pointing them towards places of engagement. Again, the engagement comes back. Link food systems actions to climate action, very important. Speak their language and engage them in activities that they normally do by conveying the message we want to, and so using it in all kinds of ways. And I will take still one, the school milk fruits and vegetables scheme that has shown success. If it just doesn't put much focus on educating about sustainability. Okay, so with that, and keep it in your minds, we can go to the next question, which is for those with low interest or awareness of the needs to transform the food systems, what innovative strategies can we use to encourage their participation in sustainable food system initiatives? So it was in some of the comments also that have come from the audience, but it's a very interesting one. Anja, you can start.
Yes, very briefly, I think it was mentioned that indeed those that we need to involve the most are usually the people from lower social-economic background. Birmingham has used, basically they have paid for their input. So really pay the time to be involved in policy making, to give input. And something also we have seen very much, you have to go back with to them about what you've done a few years later. So it's not only, okay, you come here, you tell me what you want. If I can afford it, I'll try to retribute you for your time, but also go back and see that it was not just a futile exercises or something that really has put some change at the end of the road.
Thank you. Dolinda.
Yes, I think finding the right channel of communication is essential, depending on the target. That can change with the young people is social media. With other type of groups can be talking, let's say person to person, or more locally, maybe more in other ways. So I think finding the right channel and sharing the right information. So we should invest in education and awareness. This is something important to make sure that everybody is aware.
Thank you, Camila.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree with what Anja said about like the incentives and rewards. I mean, to offer discounts, coupons, recognition for the work they're doing, or like their participation, and also to use real life stories to show tangible examples on how they can benefit, or like how their change can have a real impact, but not just theory, as we read in one of the comments, but yeah, real impact and benefits. And then maybe to make it more as a community engagement. I mean, to make them be part of a movement, or make them be part of something. I mean, we know that social norms play a big role in changing behavior in people. So make them part of a community and working all together. I think that's also very important.
Thanks a lot, Camila. Hugo and Anna, in whatever order you prefer.
Anna first now.
Okay. Yes, I fully agree with what Anja and Camila were sharing about incentives and rewards, and just building the community as well. Also, I think identifying champions that people can see themselves in relation to. from a similar community or a similar walk of life. So you can, this peer-to-peer exchange or peer-to-peer learning, I think is also really powerful.
Yeah, there is not so much to add to that. I think also it's a little bit what we are talking about today a lot, that food system approaches or food system thinking. And in its most simple essence, it is activities that you carry out thanks to drivers, and you end up with outputs, and you look to those outputs, and based on the positive ones you go on, and otherwise if they are negative you adapt your courses and change. So to have awards or recognition of things that you are doing better, that is something that and not that others are telling that you do it better, but that you recognize yourself that you do better. That is, I think, one of the best ways. But there is one big problem, I think, today with a lot of citizens, and luckily a lot disregarded, otherwise we would really end up in chaos. But if you see that you are doing better, and your neighbors as well, and your also your area is doing better, and you see that some others at a short distance are destroying everything what you have in mind to do better, how to overcome that. That is, I think, something that's psychologically still very difficult, especially also for children. They see they act sometimes differently, better directions, but then they see others who are doing things that are helping us in the wrong direction. And also those are examples that may have an impact, which is not so positive. So how to overcome that? There are hopefully experts here in the audience that can help with that.
So people in the audience, you can keep reacting on the slide or to what Hugo has just mentioned. Camila, you have your hand up.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point, Hugo. Yeah, I don't know what to reply to it now, but no, I just wanted to add that to make it easier for people to make changes. So to make it easier for not that they have to invest more time or like they have to do something, but somehow try to incorporate in the routines without an added effort. So I think campaigns there and initiatives, they have to really think on how to address this.
Thanks, Camila. And if we look now at the contributions from Slido, we have making the sustainable food choices more affordable, bring the activities to the people, to their personal context, and give a nice meal. That always works. Linking it to what motivates them, very important motivation. And I will take just one more. Plant-based foods can be cheapest and healthiest option, but often people don't have the cooking skills to use them. Raising awareness on this and sharing simple cooking techniques and recipes can be as effective, and I think it has also been mentioned in the discussion. So let's move to our last question for the panelists, because time is running out, and I really love the interaction, so please keep contributing. The last question is, are there any specific strategies or best practices you recommend for ensuring cultural inclusivity in food systems transformation efforts? Anja.
Well, urban food production is something I've been mentioning, and especially urban food production when it's linked indeed with a kitchen, like we had was suggested before. So not only understanding how food is produced, but also how it's transformed and how it can be easy and cheap to eat healthy and sustainable. So this is, I think, it's really the best. And when it comes to cultural inclusivity, some cities, for example, Haarlem was sharing how they've been working, especially also with religious personnel in the city level. For example, when we think about the halal food or indeed certain food priority or restrictions, and using sport also as a way to reach out to not only youth, but also, again, people that come from migrant background or in specific areas of the city. But above all, urban food production, it really can change quite a lot.
Thank you, Anja. Dolinda.
Yes, so I think it is recommended to understand the context and the citizens' environment. So involving them in involving them in feedbacks, and it's a process, and it's an iterative process. In living labs, this is the process that it's necessary to use. So I think it's very important to understand the context and the target of the final end users. Yeah.
Thanks, Dolinda. And Camila, sorry that you had the hand on. I don't know if you wanted to react on the previous question. I hope not, but right now you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think also for the project leaders and the participants to receive some type of cultural sensitivity training to understand the diversity of different cultures, like the practices, like what are their preferences, and also to include here co-creations with the local communities to really understand like what should be incorporated, what is important for them, like what can what makes sense with their cultural traditions. So, and then also emphasize in the European initiatives, emphasize that there are different cultural differences. So, and the value of this, that we all are different, we all grow up in different environments, to celebrate the different traditions and to make this more, to raise awareness on this, that not everybody has the same type of foods traditions that you have, but showcase a little bit of the rest. I think that's very important for us to open our minds and see that our way to do it is not always the right one, or is not the only one to do.
Fair point. Thank you, Camila. Hugo and Anna.
Yeah, now I start, Anna, if you accept. I fully agree with Camila's point, but what you see in practice, and that's also not for nothing, that often we see that the large topics are on the agenda. And for example, climate change, for sure, it is extremely important, biodiversity loss, our water problems, and so on, our healthiness of diets or of our consumption, that are key topics. They need to be on the agenda, they need to stay on the agenda. But on the other hand, as Camila said, the others ask for another way also of supporting research, innovation, policy making, education, that is much more bottom up. That is not to be defined somewhere generically, that's defined by the people themselves in their regions. And there needs to be, I think, a parallel agenda where those people can work all in their specific environments on their cases, not defined by others, not paternalistic, as said in one of the remarks, which I fully agree with, even so maybe the pater function I have here in this audience, but I fully agree, it's up to them. And so the agendas need also to be up to them. And that also changes the actors that will be involved in the future European directories. They will become much more diverse. They will become much more bottom-up defined. And I think that is what we need. Otherwise, this snowball towards sustainable outcomes is never going to run. No, not to run, to roll. That's it. Anna.
Yeah, maybe just to complement with some of what we're learning in FOODPathS with the interviews that we're doing is the importance of a shared vision, so that also people from different backgrounds have a shared vision of what the future can look like, that they also see themselves in and see their backgrounds in. And I think also we shouldn't underestimate the value of taking time to get to know each other, and creating those collaborative spaces that build that trust that we need in order to address some of these challenging topics that we've been talking about today.
Thanks a lot, Anna. Let's look at what the audience have said. Okay, it's going beyond Western food habits, so something that has already been mentioned, and also learn from other cultures which already eat more sustainably by tradition. Going where people are and explore their world, Then share where the commodities are across communities. Many cultural feasts have common denominators. Plant-based foods can easily be the most inclusive. Everyone can share. No need to worry about halal or kosher meat. Involving retailers into placing ethnic products differently on the shelf, not always separated in a corner, but highlight those of them which are healthier, and proposing together with the conventional one those products. Okay, let's, for the sake of time, go back to close this interactive discussion. And I would like to ask the speakers to share a take-home message very briefly that they would like all of us to take with us. So again, in order of appearance, Anja, you.
Yeah, so there are a variety of solutions and a variety of examples and exercises around Europe. We need to really work now on upscaling them and replicating them. So this is, otherwise they will remain a small grassroots initiative.
Thank you. Dolinda.
Yes, I would say to take time to build trust and relationship, understand the different perspective and vision, because I believe being a good listener makes sure that the work will have a positive impact on people's life.
Thank you. Camila.
For me, I would say collaboration, using our resources more effectively to reach a greater impact, and include the citizens in this collaboration to really understand what is going on out there.
Thank you. And Hugo?
Yeah, this is a very difficult question. The take-home message, in fact, we are a small community, so whatever we do, it has no impact or nearly no impact. But if we are capable of what we do each time, get 10 people moving and 10 people moving and 10 people moving, etc., not because what we do or say is right or wrong or good or bad, but at least that they do it in their ways, but jointly that we then head in a direction that we all want as a society, I think then we have achieved something. So get this snowball rolling. That is, I think, our most important point. Otherwise, we change not the curves of today, and we are not ending up in the sustainable food systems for our children.
Thank you, Hugo. And Anna, I don't know if you want to also share a statement.
Maybe just one statement I share whenever I facilitate something. I always try to approach this work with staying open to hearing how the future will emerge, that we are all in this together, as Hugo is saying, and the collaborative work that we all need to do, as Camila and as Dolinda and Anja are saying. Let's stay open to how the future will emerge and create that together.
Thank you, and that's a beautiful positive note to end up this session. As mentioned, we will summarize all the things that have been shared, not only from the speakers, but also from all of you, and you will receive the summary. And with that, I would like to thank very much our speakers once again for their clear and insightful interventions. Thank the EUFIC team for the great organization behind the scenes. And last but not least, thank you all for your attention, your questions, and your interaction. I hope that you have all learned something, that you have enjoyed it, and wish you a great end of day.